Hey guys, so today we're taking another look at the Portapack and the HackRF in our series. We started out with talking about the Portapack and the HackRF. I also talked about how you could flash the Mayhem firmware if you were just buying your stuff, your Portapack and your HackRF. And then later, I also talked about how to take an old laptop speaker and to actually install it into the HackRF Portapack. So we've done that in the last video, and today I want to talk about what I believe is going to be possibly the most useful of all the apps for you on the Portapack. And I wanted to cover this first because if I cover the other apps first, I may end up using it. May as well explain it first. So let's go ahead and go over what I believe is going to be one of the most useful apps to you. So one of these apps that I find to be very useful is going to be the Looking Glass app. As you can see right here, when you first turn it on and go over, you'll see Looking Glass right here. And what it makes it so useful is it actually scans entire band for you. So if you want to look at the ham 2-meter band, you actually can open it in Looking Glass very easily just by going to the preset. So first off, use the arrows for navigation. So bottom arrow goes down, this goes left, this goes right, this goes up. So as you can see, once I do that, I go down, I can go up, but I can also, on some cases, on some lines, I can go over. So I can go left, I can go right, and you can go down again when you need to go down. And then you can use this dial here to then change some of those settings. So what we want to do is find a band that we are looking for. So what makes it so useful is you can actually see the signals. You can see the signal strengths. You can see the actual characteristics of each signal, because some are very recognizable for what they're used for, and then other ones are going to have their own distinct look. So you'll get familiar with this as you work with SDR and radio. So you'll start to learn to recognize what signal means what. When you're seeing voice, it's going to look like a wave pattern. It's going to generally, when you get a close-up at least, you will see a wave pattern right in the signal. So we can demonstrate that first. Go down to presets. This is where you're going to probably spend a lot of time if you get a HackRF and Portapack. Even if you're using other hardware devices, even if you're using another kind of radio device, you can discover the signals with your HackRF Portapack with Looking Glass. You can find out exactly what frequency they're on, tune in on your other device, or coordinate with your HackRF and your other device, and that could really help you out and help you to, narrow down things to a more exact signal. So we can go back up here and go through some of the other bands here. Now, when we go through here, we're going to see all the different ranges. Now, what this means at the top, that has a range of 2. So that means it's scanning 2 megahertz across. So it starts at 28 megahertz. It ends at 30 megahertz. So from here to here is actually only 2 megahertz across. So that is the range of frequencies between 28 and 30 here. Now, when I turn this dial, it's going to be a whole different area. So if you note, these numbers change. The minimum, which is the low side, which is 50 megahertz, and then you have the max, which is the high side, which is 54 megahertz, is 4 megahertz across from 50 megahertz 54 megahertz, and it is doing a live scanning of each. So as it's doing this, you see it moving down. It's actually scanning across instantly, and then it's printing it out at the speed it's able to scan. And that's going to make sense as we continue this video. So as you can see, a little different there. We have the ham 2-meter there, and we can continue going up. Now this one's a little slower. Wonder why that is? Well, it's because it's a much wider bandwidth. So we have the range now is 240 megahertz across. It starts at 260 ends at 500. So you can see the range here. Since the numbers aren't marked right on this, these signals right here are not marked by the frequency, you can estimate it. You can take a look at here, this is 260. Take a look over here, this is 500. And then at this point, you can take a look down, and what you're looking at is actually the key fob range. So you're at 315 to 433. Between that is where you're actually looking at. So key fobs are 315 and 433. So from here to down here, so the marker right now is at 380. Now, if we go down, we can actually take a closer look at some of this by putting it on the actual marker, then turning the dial, and that's going to move that little red marker over to where you want to go. So if you want to take a little closer look, you can get over top of one and see if it matches a pattern of a signal that you were looking for. So if I click on this, you can actually see it a little closer. And we're not going to be listening to key fobs today, so we will continue going through some of these other options here. So if we go over here, we can see the marine, very high frequency, and this one's also slower. It's because it's also a much broader range that it is scanning on. Now, you have US pagers here. This is the US pagers area. So if you're listening to this, you can see if there's any activity on that. Now there's more pager ranges here. So we have these pager ranges, we have these pager ranges, and you can see some activity as well. And there's actually a pager decoding app as well. So you can see how this can come in handy. You could go over there and attempt to decode the signal right there if it were a pager itself. So as you can tell, this is a useful app. Even if you're working with other types of radios, just having the ability to have that visual is really useful. There's another pager right there. So you can actually take a look, and then we could go down here and we could dial it in. And once we find it, there we go. We're on top of it. And what you're doing at that point is you're noting that frequency, and you can even go ahead and save it. So I could actually click on this again, and I can actually save it right here by hitting save. And then I'll have that frequency saved, and I can load it using other applications. So Looking Glass is very useful. Now let's go ahead and see if we can take a listen to something. Let's take a look around. Oh, while we're here, this is Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So if you ever were wondering what it looked like, actual waterfalls, that's what they're called. The signals are called waterfalls because of the way it falls like a waterfall. So you have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi on this area here. And we can actually see the signals being transmitted right there. Now we can continue going up, and we see the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi range. Now this is a much slower one because, as you can tell, it's scanning a much slower rate. And because of the range, it's because it's more than double in the range. So of course it's going to be twice as slow because, just like any other piece of hardware, there are limitations in everything. But hey, super cool that you can actually see everything because it really does help you out. No matter what you're working on, you're going to find that this Looking Glass app is going to be very useful for locating things. We'll go ahead and take a look for FM radio broadcast. So when we go to FM radio is right here. So you see FM broadcast, and what that's showing us is these are FM radio broadcasts. So like something like music that you may listen to in the car, that would be something like this. So you have this right here, and you can see all the signals, and we can go down here and we can actually tune into them. So we can go ahead over, and we could try out the strongest one first, which is the red one. So the red is going to be the strongest signal. And there's also ways you can tweak that. So we go over to this, we see this once again, and we think, but what you can do is turn it to wide FM, WFM, which is right here. So remember, use your arrows to get over top of it. And we can then go down, all the way down to the bottom, and when you see that marker pop up, we can then roll it over, so turn the knob, get right in the center of that, and this is how you're going to tune in, and then press that middle button. You hear how that cleared up? That's really clear. So, as you can see, not too hard to operate once you know your way around the Portapack and the looking glass, which is very handy. So that's just one station. We could even save that station. Say we want to save that station as whatever, oldies. We could do that. So you can see that. We can go down and take a look at another one. We can go ahead and take this and bring it to one of the other signals. And we'll go ahead with this one just for the heck of it. And at this point, we could then, try and move a little closer to the signal. So you have two options when you're tuning from this audio receive section. This is another app, which you can access from Looking Glass, which is another thing that makes Looking Glass so handy. So then what we do at this point is we want to change the modulation, which is AM, FM, things like that. Those are forms of modulation, which is going to allow you to hear it. So then I can go down here. I got it on WFM. I can see right here I have some signal over here. I can push the down arrow to get all the way to the bottom. And then press that middle button. And there we go. We are listening to yet another station now. This one's not quite as strong. As you can see, it's a little thin, the signal. So, we get what we can. We could also change our antenna and possibly improve that signal. So that's another thing. It's not just about your receiver. It's in big part the antenna as well. You're not going to be able to pick up every signal on every antenna. You're going to need to learn what type of antenna it is for the device that you're looking to tune into. So if you don't have one, this is a great place to start. This was the first SDR I got, which is the blog version 3. Now there's blog version 4, which is probably better. So go to, if you want one of these, you want something to start out with, this is a great place to start. It's only like $30. You can get a kit for $40 that has massive dipole antenna, so you can really pick up different things. So if you remember my video, speakers act as remotely transmitting microphones. I used an RTL-SDR and the kit antennas that came with that to do that video. So there's a lot of things you can do with the RTL-SDR, but you can't transmit on the RTL-SDR. But it is better at receiving. So if you want to actually listen to shortwave, things like that, this is probably going to be a much better bet for you if you're not looking at something for like wireless analysis. This is more, nice as an option for people who are interested in wireless analysis for ethical pen testing or just basically learning more about wireless. This is a great tool to have for anyone. And there's lots of different options to get it. There's the official version, the HackRF from Great Scott Gadgets. That's the one I recommend people, go for if they can afford to support Great Scott Gadgets. But you can also get clones. They're out there as well. I got this as a gift personally. But there's a lot of different options to get a HackRF and a Portapack. Your best bet, if you end up getting a Portapack as your goal, is to get it all in one kit, because then at least they usually come with the Mayhem firmware and you won't have to worry about working all that out on your own, and you won't have to worry about compatibility issues. As has been mentioned, some of the devices that are out, there's even another Portapack called the H3. That's not part of the Mayhem firmware project, so it isn't recommended by the Mayhem firmware project. In fact, they are not combining the work from the H3 with the Mayhem. So it's a entirely separate project, and it may not work down the road, depending on who's working on it and how dedicated they are. So going back into Looking Glass, we can really find everything on it. And that's what makes it so magic, is that we can really go through and find everything. So, and we can also learn more about what ranges are what bands are what, by going to these presets and just, scrolling through them. Take a look. Where is the marker? Okay, where is the minimum? 76 megahertz here. the maximum, 95 megahertz here. It has to scan a range of 19 megahertz across. As you can see right here, this current range is set for 19 across. So that's what those numbers mean. So you can go up here and you can actually see the different numbers for the range and everything. And at this point, the red marker is on 85.5. And we can go down here to highlight the frequency, and then we could actually turn those. And then to get on top of one, you'll simply, just press that middle button and it'll take you right on top of it. And then you could mess with the modulation if you want to try to listen to something, if it's someone talking. Remember, look for those wave patterns. That's what you're looking for when you're trying to listen to talking. Generally, that's what you're going to see, especially for FM broadcast. So going through more of them, you have different countries. So you have FM broadcast in Japan. So if you live in Japan, you can take a look at that one. And you can keep an eye on what's happening in real time. So if you're looking to find a actual key fob, you'll simply go to the range for key fobs, and then you'll look for a actual signal jump when you hit the key fob button. And then you'll know what frequency to tune it into. And then you can use that to then later on work on your captors, jams, whatever it is that you're doing, if you're doing ethical pen testing or something like that. But even if you're not doing ethical pen testing, this is a great tool for anyone interested in radio. It's something that's going to teach you a lot about radio, and it's really a great device to have, I think, no matter what you're doing. But let's go ahead and take a look around again. So we also have a Baofeng out right here, so I might go ahead and just tune into something. Just do a little demo. You can also type in your numbers and save things, so that's quite handy as well. So let's go ahead and line them up. Other thing, you may want to just line it up a bit better. Testing. So as you can see, it's actually not quite on point here. So what I did was I moved that dial over. Testing, testing. As you can see, you can really hear it that time, because what it was the marker was slightly off, even though both radios had the same frequency. What you need to do is line that marker up with the signal strength. Put it right in the middle, and that's where you're going to get the clearest sound. And turn up the volume just a little bit. Turn up the volume. Testing, testing, 1, 2, and 3. So as you can see, it can pick up a lot. Now let's go ahead over, do one more quick test, and I do have this all in a controlled setting right now. Alright, and now we're listening to some shortwave. We have 9 megahertz here, and our marker is set right in the middle of the signal. So you actually can pick up things like shortwave with the HackRF and the Portapack with the right setup. Now, for this, I added my dipole that came with my RTL-SDR kit, and that is the kit I recommend to everyone who's interested in trying SDR, because it also comes with some really nice antennas that are able to be resized to pick up all different types of ranges. So with the looking glass and then the ability to visually see those signals, scan those signals in whatever range that you choose, and then just simply use that middle button to select them. It brings you right to the audio reception app, and from there you can then simply tune everything in. As mentioned, press the down arrow, see as it's highlighting and going further down. You can even record. So if you want to record something, you go up to that record button right there. So say I want to record Girls Just Want to Have Fun, as happens to be playing on this station. I would simply hit that record button right there. And as you can see, it now says stop, so I can stop it whenever I'm ready. I could also take these recordings and I could try and clean them up better. You can see an example of that where I do a noise reduction on my video where I use a Cubes laptop and I show how you can remotely pick up the speakers that can act as a microphone on my laptop. I had noticed this, and given it was a Cubes machine, I thought it was worth recording. So I did some audio cleanup on that demonstration. So if you're interested in Tenacity, which is an Audacity fork, that's a great option for cleaning up your audio recordings. But like I said, really great option here. We have the Looking Glass app, and then we can transfer anything we see right over into the audio receive, or we can save any of those signals and we can then import them into the other apps that are available on the Portapack. So Looking Glass to me is the most essential app to first cover. So that's what I've done today, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. And make sure to share it on social media and any other place people have an interest in radio. And you can take out my previous videos where I also covered how to install an old laptop speaker as your speaker. So you also have that as an option. And you know, I don't have a perfect antenna for picking up 9 megahertz because it is just an RTL-SDR kit. People who really take ham radio seriously are going to have major antennas that are tens of feet long. So I'm just using what I got just to do some demonstrations. So make sure to share the video, guys, like it, and I'll continue making videos that I think you'll find interesting, and we'll continue covering how to protect your privacy, security, SDR, and open source. How it's supposed to feel.